We're back now to give you the legal edge, and here, as always, is attorney Bryan Waldman from the Sinus Ramus Law Firm. Each year, National Grandparents' Day is celebrated on the first Sunday after Labor Day, so that means this year the national holiday falls on Sunday, September 8th. The holiday was first recognized or proclaimed by President Jimmy Carter in 1979 and is intended to honor grandparents, giving grandparents the opportunity to show their love for their grandchildren and, to help children become aware of the strength and guidance that grandparents and older generation has to offer. So, Bryan, looking at Grandparents' Day from a legal standpoint, are there any rights that grandparents have?
Typically, when we talk about grandparenting rights, what we're talking about is grandparenting time. And unfortunately, that doesn't occur unless there's already a bad situation where a parent or both parents have decided, I'm not going to let grandpa or grandma spend time with their grandchild.
Unfortunate. So what can grandparents do in a situation like that?
Well, they can petition the court for court-ordered grandparenting time, and they have the right to do so. But again, it's very difficult because there are competing rights here.
Okay. So if a grandparent does want to spend time with their grandkids, because it seems like there would be a value to that, what can they do then?
Well, there is a value, but the courts also recognize that most decisions regarding kids should be left to that child's parents. And if a parent makes a decision that that child shouldn't see their grandparent, the government really doesn't want to intervene unless there's a good reason to do so.
Okay, so is there something that the grandparent would then need to prove in court in order to, have things work in their favor?
First of all, the grandparent can't even go to court unless certain criteria are met, like there's a divorce or a death of one of the parents or custody has been taken.
Okay.
And then they have to prove that there will be substantial risk of harm to the child if they're not allowed some grandparenting time.
Interesting. Okay, so what type of a situation would court require grandparenting time then?
It really needs to be a pretty extreme case. One example that's pretty well known. There was a case where a woman was found dead after she filed for divorce. The husband was suspected to have committed the murder, and the grandparents weren't allowed to see the child, and they petitioned the court and said, hey, look, we're the ones who are in the best position to educate this young child about who their mother was. And the courts agreed and allowed some grandparenting time.
Man, terrible situation. Does it have to be that tragic?
It doesn't have to be that tragic, but it's tough, and you don't want to file a petition for grandparenting time unless you really think you have a good chance of winning, because if you lose, it's going to make it tougher to win in the future, and it's obviously going to drive a bigger wedge between the grandparent and the parents if you file this type of petition. So you need to seek lawyers' advice, and you need to be careful.
Okay. Bryan, thank you as always for giving us the legal edge.
Thank you, Siobhan.